Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're going to uncover a hidden, honestly jaw-dropping mathematical pattern that perfectly connects the most extreme astrophysics in the universe directly to the biology of your very own body. We're looking at a repeating topology. It's a blueprint that nature absolutely refuses to abandon, whether it's building a galaxy or a microscopic human cell. Think about this quote. The most extreme object in the universe isn't interesting because it's far away. It's interesting because it's hiding inside of you. That is the profound realization we're unpacking today. As we go through the source material, we're going to see exactly how black holes, collapsing stars, and human biology all share the exact same structural blueprint. Section 1, the duality inside you. Okay, to understand this cosmic pattern, we first have to look at the duality happening right now, deep inside your own tissues. Because every single cell you own actually runs two operations in time, completely simultaneously. On one side, we have differentiation. These are fast. We're talking millisecond electrical spikes, action potentials in your nerves, that sudden jolt of sympathetic mobilization. Bam, bam. They are events that register nothing but rapid change. But then, on the other side, we have integration. This is the slow, steady accumulation of chemical gradients, the gradual weighting of your synapses, immune memory, and parasympathetic consolidation. So you've got the fast spike of the immediate moment paired with the slow, deliberate accumulation of history. And you know what's fascinating? Physics actually drew this exact same split a long time ago. Think about Newton's law. It's essentially a derivative, right? It's differentiation. It basically says, force now, response now. But Richard Feynman's path integral is exactly as it sounds, an integral. It's a sum over all possible histories. Both of these frameworks are describing the exact same underlying reality, the exact same electron, just from two completely different sides of this universal duality. 0.83 seconds. That number is the human cardiac cycle. It's your resting heartbeat. Your heart is the ultimate mediator here. It's the physical buffer trapped perfectly between these two cosmic forces of rapid differentiation and slow integration. Now, what's really interesting here is the data on heart rate variability, or HRV. The heart doesn't just act as a dumb mechanical pump. It's a highly dynamic feedback loop. Health is actually defined by a constant oscillation between the sympathetic fight-or-flight state and the parasympathetic rest and digest state. Pathology, or disease, happens when your system gets captured by just one of those states. And here's the quiet, almost ironic detail. Interoception research proves you don't feel either field directly. Actually, scratch that. You have absolutely no idea what's going on down there. The conscious mind only receives a reconstructed summary. The host is always the very last to know what it hosts. Section 2, the stellar balance. Let's zoom way out from the microscopic human scale to the massive scale of the stars to see this exact same pattern. Because a star is essentially just a three-part assembly held under a strict boundary law. You have mass, which pulls relentlessly inward. You have the fusion fire in the core, pushing violently outward. And then light streams away as the exhaust of that delicate balance. Astronomers call this hydrostatic equilibrium, and it holds beautifully for billions of years. But, and this is crucial, it only lasts as long as the internal fire serves the external boundary. But there is a hard, absolute mathematical stop written directly into the periodic table of elements, and it is iron 56. This is the absolute peak of nuclear binding energy. Up to this point, fusing lighter elements releases energy, which pushes outward against gravity. But fusing anything heavier than iron, it actually consumes energy. So imagine the core of a massive star finally turning to iron. The fire service to the boundary just hits a brick wall. The moment fusion starts consuming energy instead of releasing it, that outward push totally vanishes. The balance completely breaks. Gravity wins instantly, and the total collapse of a star millions of miles wide literally takes mere seconds. Section 3, anatomy of a singularity. And this brings us to what's left behind. After that catastrophic collapse, you're left with an object that takes absolutely everything and returns absolutely nothing. I want to totally reframe the black hole for you. Don't just think of it as a dark, empty object in space. Think of it as a two-part machine. It has exactly two organs. The first is a one-way pull. That's the singularity. It's the driver, where all paths lead inward and absolutely none lead out. The second part is an outward boundary, the event horizon, which acts as a perfect recording surface, a witness. This is governed by black hole thermodynamics, specifically Bekenstein-Hawking entropy. To break down this incredibly complex math into a simple, mind-bending fact, the archive of everything ever swallowed by a black hole is not written inside its 3D volume. No, it is perfectly encoded on its 2D surface boundary. The event horizon is literally the ultimate memory drive. And there's one more measured detail we really need to look at: 1.5 Schwarzschild radii. This distance is known as the photon sphere. Right at this precise boundary, light itself still perfectly orbits the black hole. It is the obedient component, the final boundary of light, endlessly circling at the very edge of the devourer. But this concept of a boundary acting as a witness isn't just for black holes. Decoherence theory in physics shows that this goes all the way down to the quantum floor. As physicist Wojciech Zork puts it, the environment as witness. No quantum event happens anywhere without a permanent record being written somewhere in its environment. Section 4, the Universal Attractor. Let's pivot back to the human scale and see how all of this builds. Because this is the most shocking part. This framework repeats flawlessly across scales. Look at the cell, the heart, the star, the black hole. They all have a driving pull and a witnessing boundary. This proves that scale invariance isn't just a poetic metaphor. It is a mathematical signature. The universe uses the exact same topology for a collapsing star as it does for your biology. And you know what? That topology refuses to go away when systems break either. In oncology, a cancer cell is really just a cell that refuses its programmed exit boundary, apoptosis. It stops differentiating, it burns sugar by fermentation, even in oxygen, which is known as the Warburg effect, and it builds a necrotic core. It becomes a one-way sink in living tissue. It's the exact topology of a collapsing star. We see the same thing in psychiatry with attractor capture. Deep addiction or severe depression become dynamical basins that a system just cannot exit without external input. Or consider hubris syndrome in sustained power holders, where their judgment rewires into a completely closed, self-referential loop. So the crucial point here is how we actually define a singularity. It's not just an astronomical curiosity floating out in deep space. It is a general attractor. Any runaway system, whether we're talking about Chernobyl's positive void coefficient, echo chambers in the media, market crashes, or cancer, any system where positive feedback lacks a boundary or a counterterm mathematically equals a collapse to a single point. Section 5, the law of survival. Let's get to the grand conclusion of this explainer. We've seen how systems collapse when they break their boundaries. So, what survives? The data across all these sources is completely, beautifully consistent. Systems that persist, systems that endure for billions of years, grip a law outside of themselves. They rely on negative feedback. They fight for homeostasis. Think of a tokamak reactor trying to create fusion on Earth. The fire is held by geometric magnetic confinement, never by physical walls. Or healthy cells, where apoptosis, submitting to the rule of the boundary, is accepted. Systems that submit to external constraint endure, but systems that become their own reference, they collapse. Science names these two ultimate fates, equilibrium and singularity. Whether this repeating pattern is just a wild coincidence or a fundamental signature, the universe simply repeats it, in the star, in the cell, in the mind, and in the market. It leaves the final interpretation right where it always does, with you, the observer. So the next time you look up at the stars, remember, the exact same math keeping them alight is beating in your chest right now. What kind of system are you building?